where the drivers have just discussed what they're happy to do, and they've, I'm sure, been fully informed of the potential dangers that coolant could arise. And now towards the tail end of the circuit, you can see it still looks rather misty. It's definitely wetter out that end of the circuit. And of course, the dry line will have definitely disappeared now, because there hasn't been much on track action for the best part of over an hour now. So the driver's just getting used to not only the wet conditions, but piecing together where that coolant is and where the grip is and isn't. So there's a few little areas the drivers will have to look out for. You can see the slippery surface flag being shown on the exit of Monza as we go through Tunnel now. At a reduced speed. Everybody seems fairly sedate at the moment. Of course, it's going to be a big confidence knock for all of the drivers, because it's one of the things you can't really see until you're already sideways. You don't know the coolant's there until you're already, like I say, 90 degrees to the circuit. So it's such a confidence knocker for all of the drivers, and it's just down to now what they want to do with those 3 installation laps. Sideways into turn 1 goes Jochen Hahn. Just testing that everything is still working behind the wheel of his Iveco. Of course, Jochen Hahn, 6-time FIA European Truck Racing Champion, and then 3-time runner-up as well. So well and truly acclimatised to these purpose-built racing machines. The number 1 machine he's in this season is somewhat of a development season for that Iveco. I'm sure next season it will be only ever more competitive. So the driver's still out and just circulating, figuring out where the conditions do and don't suit their setup and their driving style. And of course, the main focus has to be on that slippery surface around the final part of the final sector. The FIA will be monitoring that very, very closely. The drivers that are out on circuit do have those 3 installation laps just to decide how comfortable they are, and it allows the FIA to monitor where the grip is. And Teo Calvé showing us where the grip isn't on the exit of of Monza. There was definitely a rather slippery surface there. So when I say 3 installation laps, it is 3 full installation laps. So they have an out lap, then they're 3 somewhat fast laps, and then an in lap as well. Heinrich Clementecker showing off his strut control very sideways, so too is Sacha Lenz. Lots of oversteering moments, and you've got to think this is just when they're by themselves having a bit of fun. You can imagine when they're side by side through there on the first lap, just knocking off each other, trying to keep the trucks in a straight line. Here is Elia Koloch. Very, very well done to Elia. She managed to get into Super Pole for the first time, so she will start, if race 3 goes ahead, she will start race 3 from 10th place. And you've got to think then, if she only gains 2 places in the next race, in race 3, that will be reverse grid pole for race 4. All wishful thinking, but of course it is there. The opportunity is there. There is Steffi Halm following round Anthony Janiek. Great performance yesterday from Steffi in the number 44 Iveco. Race 2 of the weekend, race 18 of the season. She started on reverse grid pole. After defending from Andre Kurzim, Andre managed to get by in the middle stage of the race in towards turn 1. A brilliant move. I'm sure we'll see highlights of that a little later on. And then she managed to fend off what seemed like 5 or 6 trucks just to remain in 2nd place. Antonio Alberthetti threw everything at it. He had Norbert Kisch behind him, so too had Sacha Lenz. So it was just a very, very busy old race for Steffi Halm, and she managed to do it to cross the line in 2nd place. And of course, home favourite Antonio Alberthetti finished in 3rd, so the local fans were over the moon with that one. It seems like it's almost got the vibes of the Nürburgring, because of course parts of the Nürburgring can be very sunny and very dry, whereas the other part can be somewhat snowy sometimes and definitely rainy. Whereas here at Jarama, turn 1 seems to be the driest place on circuit, but then you head out towards Ascari and Portago, it seems like the rain is still falling quite heavily there. So very localised weather here just north of Madrid. You can see there just how wet it looks out towards the tail end of the circuit. Everybody's still controlling it rather nicely. It could just be a slight bit of precipitation on the camera. All the trucks that you see out on circuit run on a bio HVO diesel, which is 100% renewable, which is of course absolutely brilliant, striving for a more economical motorsport, which obviously helps in the efforts of the FIA ETRC's goal by 2038 at the latest to have net zero emissions from a race weekend, so 0 carbon emissions produced from a race weekend, which is absolutely brilliant, of course. So a lot of research and development and technology is going into this, as well as a lot of thought, because these trucks, 13-litre single turbo engines producing 1,200 horsepower, over 5,000 newton meters of torque, and they can still run on 100% renewable fuel. So it's absolutely terrific for not only the championship but for motorsport all round. There is Norbert Kish through the final corner. That's a slower speed than we ever see. Of course, you have to, not knowing where that coolant is, or having a vague idea, but you just don't want to risk it, even more so on an installation lap. You can see there Jose Rodriguez, the Portuguese driver in the MAN, having a good weekend so far. Definitely has been in the mix and battling away. So it's great to see Jose out on circuit. Of course, all the drivers just figuring out how the circuit feels at the moment. FIA still watching along with a keen eye just to make sure that it is safe to go motor racing. By the looks of it from an outside perspective, it seems like it's been very well controlled from all of our drivers, very sensible, and it does look like we will go racing. However, the FIA have got many more camera angles, and of course they can directly speak to the drivers, because from the outside, while it might look all sedate, the drivers could be saying there's no grip, or it's so difficult to keep the truck in a straight line. So it's all down to the drivers, the circuit officials, and of course the championship officials as well, to discuss what will go on. We have onboard cameras this weekend. We have 4 of them, from what I believe, on board with Shane Brereton, Jamie Anderson and Norbert Kish, and we have a rear camera, I think, on Stefan Faas as well. There is Shane Brereton working his way in towards the pit lane after completing his laps, and the drivers we're looking at the moment, they will be entering the pit lane, I'm sure, very shortly. There goes Norbert Kish, championship leader, I believe 9-time winner and 8-time pole sitter. I think that will put him up to 12 top 3s as well throughout this season. There is Théo Calvet, newly crowned French truck racing champion, behind the wheel of his Bugatti Freightliner. His teammate behind him, Elia Koloch. They all look very similar at first glance to the Bugatti Freightliners. It's just, of course, the numbers and then the slight flashes. Théo Calvet, you can see, has the blue flashes, so blue headlight covers, blue fifth wheel, and blue wing mirrors. Elia Koloch all the same, but with red. And Adam Lachko all the same, but with Dayglow yellow. That is how you can pick between them. There is Heinrich Clement Hecker, number 25 machine in the background of shot. That truck is in fact for sale after Misano, so after the final round of the season, if you are in the market for a racing truck, even more so an MAN, give Heinrich Clement Hecker a ring and he will be able to set you up with a very tidy MAN. There are the final 3 drivers, I believe, out on circuit. The Tank Pool 24 Racing Scania of Stefan Faas will be the final truck into the pit lane, riding on board with Norbert Kish underneath the Hyundai bridge, and we will work our way in towards the pit lane. I'm not sure how well we will be able to hear, but it would be good if we could stick on this camera angle, because we might be able to hear what Norbert Kish has to say about the circuit, whether it be it's too slippery or it's fine. I'm sure we will find out in just a few moments' time as he continues to work his way down the pit lane. You can see spectators on the right hand side, spectators up on the gantry towards the top right, and over at the grandstand on the left as well. So a very busy circuit here at JARAMA. It's great to see that even in this rather soggy weather, the crowds can still show up in force, and they can produce some brilliant noise as well. We've heard the air horns and all the shouting and the singing throughout the weekend, and I'm sure tonight there'll be one brilliant party in the paddock as well, even more so added by if Antonio Albacetti can find his way towards the top step of the podium. It's great to see René Reynard's truck still out and running. It's had a rough weekend, as that Iveco. It was in the tyre wall race 2 of yesterday and had a couple of big hits in race 1, but still out and circulating. They've clearly brought a lot of spares with them. Norbert Kish at the end of the pit lane being signalled by his team, letting him know you need to go right to the end. And now we just wait for the FIA to discuss, and we will very shortly be able to bring an answer to the Ford F-Max in front. You can see there, that is the official truck of the FIA European Truck Racing Championship. It was crowned the International Truck of the Year in 2019. Produced and tested by 500 Ford engineers over a 5-year period. So a really big project was that Ford F-Max. And it involved over 15,000 hours of lab testing and around about 5 million kilometres of road testing as well, over 11 countries and 4 continents. So a very, very well-equipped piece of machinery. There are all the drivers. You can see Adam Lachko stood next to Stefan Faas and Jamie Anderson, also chatting away with, I think, Sacha Lenz. There is yesterday's Race 2 winner, Andre Kurzim, sat discussing with his team, and we're now just waiting for the other drivers to work their way down the pit lane with the circuit officials and the FIA. I'm sure we'll be able to bring an answer to you in a few moments' time. I'm guessing if all the drivers head back towards the cockpits, they will be more than happy to go racing, but it's all down to the safety, of course. There's no way around it. Safety has to be the #1 priority. So we will just wait for that one. You can see Steffi Helm and Jochen Hahn working their way towards the bottom of the pit lane. Norbert Kiesche just turned around towards the top of the pit lane, heading down to the FIA. And then I think once everybody's there, of course, we will be able to discuss what is going on in regards to the third race of the weekend here from Harare. That will be the 19th race of the season. If you are new to the championship, there are 2 different classes on show this weekend, as per the rest of the season. So you have the Titan class and the Chrome class. So the Titan category is for any FIA European Truck Racing champion in the last 10 years. If you finished top 8 overall in the last season, and if you finished better than 6th in any Superpole sessions last season, as well as Platinum FIA categorised drivers. So you'll see that a lot more on GT racing. You can have, of course, bronze, silver, gold and platinum. And that will all of that will get you into the Titan class, and the Chrome class is where you fight for the Goodyear Cup, and that's for drivers slightly new to the motorsport scene, whether it be truck racing or motorsport alone. You can see their drivers listening eagerly. Adam Lachko just making sure he sinks everything in. There's some scary stares there. I wouldn't want to be the FIA member on the pit wall, having 17 truck drivers all staring at me, eager to go racing. Now I think it's a poll of who wants to go racing and who believes we shouldn't go racing. Got more and more hands going up. Jochen Hahn, Steffi Helm, Jamie Anderson, I think a couple of the Bugatti drivers as well. So we'll decide what's going on. Adam Lachko with his hand aloft. I'm sure we'll very shortly find out whether we do or don't go racing. So a couple of smiles going on. I'm hoping that does mean everybody is in high spirits and we do get to go racing. Antonio Alberthetti just saying, why don't we just race with yellow flags there? So we will see. So of course, home favourite Antonio Alberthetti. He really loves this circuit and he's desperate to race, but I think he's pleading with the stewards, please can we go racing? Just yellow flag the area. Jochen Hahn concreting his opinion in. So I'm sure we will find out in just a few moments' time what will be happening here from Jarama. Jarama is one of those circuits that maybe you haven't heard of, or it's one of the circuits that is slowly falling away from the motorsport calendar, but it is a brilliant circuit nonetheless. Lots of experience and lots of motorsport pedigree behind it. It's played host to around about 11 Formula 1 Grand Prix, as well as the Superbike World Championship, the World Touring Car Championship, and it was designed by John Hugenholtz, who also designed the Suzuka circuit in Japan. So it's definitely one of those circuits that you know is going to work very, very well. You know, just staying patient, of course. We definitely can't rush a process like this. Once again, another poll going up, just allowing drivers to decide what they want to do. That's the best course of action, of course, just have it completely who wants to race and who doesn't. And then it's very democratic as well, because you can't just do it because you want to, you need to do it because it's safe as well. So I'm sure we will have an answer for you in a few moments' time. By the sounds of that, I do think we will be going racing, but that section will be under yellow flag conditions. through the final sector. You can hear the aircraft going over. Of course, that is all the arrivals heading into Madrid Barajas Airport, which is just down the road. And I do think we are about to go racing indeed. Of course, JARAMA being just north of Madrid, and it is located next to the A1, so a very busy motorway. You see it in the background of some of the shots, and it's a very busy circuit as well. I'm sure it drags a lot of attention to itself, of course, which it deserves. JARAMA is one of those circuits which doesn't just provide on-track action, it provides a lot of off-track opportunities as well. So you can have the Royale experience, which is where you get behind the wheel of a little kit car, and you can practice your car handling abilities, a little bit of drifting in there as well, very much like autocross. Weave it in between the cones and see just how quickly you can do it. There's also Ferrari driving experiences here at JARAMA, as well as a go-kart track as well, so plenty to do, and I do believe we are, yes, going to go racing. So the final sector will be under yellow flags, and Christina's down in the pit lane, I believe, with a little bit more information. Down to you, Christina.
Yes, so just a little bit more information on 14:55. We're going to have the pit exit open. You have followed the lively discussion. I took my ear off, so I'm sorry I did not hear you commentating the thing. But of course, the safety was first of the drivers, and they were discussing how they're going to compete. So the decision was made, as you said, to race under yellow flag due to still some slippery parts on this ancient circus. And yes, we are very happy to see them all racing again. We are trying to get some officials to talk to you, but we are very glad. And it is good to see that it's always safety first. And you know, every one of the drivers could speak forward, could speak openly. And this is a great competition that we have here and a great truck racing family. So back to you, we're trying to get someone to talk to you.
Thank you very much, Christina. Best of luck in finding an FIA official as well. I'm sure they are rather busy. You can now see the Ford F-Max official truck heading round as well as the Iveco S-Way, the official page truck of the FIA ETRC. Both manufacturers very, very helpful from their end to the FIA ETRC. We've got long-standing relationships with Iveco, and they've just been extended for another 3 years as well. So the Iveco S-Way will continue to follow the calendar around for years to come. Drivers returning to their cockpits. You can see, just pick out there, Norbert Kish and Jochen Hahn just discussing their opinions, I believe. There is the very second-hand looking René Reinhardt. So just waiting for the pit lane to be opened. I do think that is going to be in 5 minutes' time. We will see the pit exit open. Christina's down in the pit lane. Who have you found?
Yes, I found Tony Eden, the series coordinator. Thank you very much that you've given us an inside perspective. You've been on the track yourself, inspecting, of course, and now letting all the drivers test it at itself. Safety, safety, safety first. Are you happy with the decision?
Yes, I think we've taken every precaution we can. They know what the situation is. We will start under yellow flags. We will have yellow flags on the section which is affected. If anybody does anything wrong, then we've told them quite clearly that we will black flag people who don't behave, which is a normal procedure anyhow, and we're proceeding with caution.
The drivers could speak openly, forwardly. This is very good to see from the outside. How important is that for you, that every driver could tell from the inside perspective if they're, for example, a little bit cautious or not?
Yeah, I always believe in being straight with people and giving them the opportunity. And we've got to remember, we've got several thousand spectators here who've paid money to watch a race. I would never let a race start if it was a safety question, but I think we've covered all the eventualities there.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Pleasure. So, yes, of course, we got thousands of spectators here on YouTube and on our Facebook channel as well. We're very glad that you could join us right now. Race 3 is going to take place. So all the drivers are trying now to get their best setup due to these conditions under yellow flag. It starts to rain again a bit, to be honest with you. So we'll see. It would be, I think, safety first is the good, let's say, quote for the day right now. So back to you, Jack.
Thank you very much, Christina. And yes, of course, with a little bit more information, massively helpful over the weekend has been Christina. So thank you to yourself. Now just waiting for the drivers to get back in the trucks, make sure the teams and the drivers are all ready to go back racing, and then, of course, it's down to the circuit officials to allow the pit exit to show green, and then the drivers can head out and arrive back at the grid once again, where the final checks will be made. The Iveco S-Way will stand proud at the head of the grid, and then after that we will be able to go on to the formation lap, barring any weather changes. Of course, the last thing you want is, having just cleared away as much of that coolant as possible, for the rain to go and wash it off where you've put it, back down onto the grid. We do have an interview with Luke Garrett, I believe. Down to you, Christina.
Yes, I do have. Are you happy with the decision made?
Yeah, I think the yellow flag suggestion by Antonio was probably a really good idea for not overtaking where the actual oil is. But I don't think it was any less grippy than it was when it was raining earlier. So we'll see. But I think they made the right choice to get us all to make a decision. But I think it's okay.
Thank you very much. So as you heard, Antonio Albacete was the one who said maybe we can race under yellow flag, and he said it was a good decision.
Yeah, we were listening along and you could hear him saying, just why don't we just put it under yellow flags, because then we can still race everywhere else. Just when it gets to that part where maybe it's rather slidey, there's no overtaking, no side by side, no further risk. Of course, that's the last thing you want, any sort of unnecessary risk to be taken, especially on these conditions. So just waiting now for the pit exit to go green. You can see the Ford F-Max and the Iveco S-Way sat at the top of the grid, waiting for all the trucks to work their way around, and you'll see the trucks drifting through the course just while they're getting everything up to temperature. There goes Heinrich Clemens Hecker. The pit exit will be open in what will be 2 minutes' time. You can see the rain pouring down now. I'm not sure whether that's just off a roof or that is genuinely how much rain is falling once again. So fingers crossed the rain doesn't wash any of that coolant back onto the circuit. It is still a possibility. Jochen Hahn very relaxed, whistling away as he clambers into the cockpit of his Iveco. Steffi Halm does the same, just up towards the end of the pit lane. That rain is very definitely falling down once again. So you can see it visually on the camera. It's going to be a very, very slidey race. It wouldn't surprise me if the first 3 laps, or maybe the first 2 laps, are put under yellow flag conditions all the way around, because the last thing you want is, of course, that coolant to be washed back on. Final preparations being made, I'm sure final setup changes as well, just to make sure the trucks are ready for the wet conditions. It's supposed to rain until around about 3 o'clock, so I think it's going to get worse before it gets any better. But hopefully come round to race 4, we will be allowed to go racing, and it should be in drier conditions. Just some final changes being made. Just making sure that the truck is all ready to go. I think that's Jochen Hahn's machine. I'll be able to tell you in a few moments' time. I think that could actually be Jose Rodriguez. Pit exit is now indeed open. Engines will strike into life, and then we will be able to see the trucks round on their installation lap before returning to the grid ahead of race 3. Highly anticipated race 3 as well. We've been waiting for it for a couple of hours, and we've finally been given the all clear. That is Jochen Hahn's truck just there. Final preparations and pressure changes being made. Gary Anderson's truck takes to the circuit now. And through turn 1 you can see the rain is very definitely pouring down. We'll keep an eye to see just how slidey it is. Very controlled, and then a little flick of oversteer on the exit from Jamie Anderson just as the turbo reaches full boost. Big slide on the way through Varzy, and then in towards Le Mans. You can see the wider line in, cut back for the apex. That is the tail end of the circuit out towards Ascari and Portago. Still raining heavily out there as well. Through Farina we go, where the crowds have been amassing throughout the whole weekend. You can see even though the rain is getting heavier, they just simply put the umbrella up, put the poncho on and go, you know what, I'm here for a day, no matter rain or shine. And it's great to see, definitely some of the best fans we've seen all season. So a massive thank you to, of course, the fans for coming along. You really do add to the atmosphere. Heinrich Clemens Hecker and Luke Garrett taking to the circuit. think potentially we just have one or two more to take to the circuit as well. Jamie Anderson, the lead truck at the moment. On the exit, expect a little kick of oversteer, short shifting, changing up early to minimise that turbo from reaching full boost. So of course the last thing you want is to make a mistake on your installation lap and potentially damage the truck and definitely damage your ego on the outlap. Sacha Lenz taking to the circuit in the number 30 MAN. Our incredibly efficient marshals and circuit staff just making sure we are all ready to go racing, so a massive thank you to them, so otherwise we wouldn't be able to go racing. Sacha Lenz sideways on the exit of Fangio. Through Varzy he goes in towards Le Mans. So many differing lines into Le Mans. There were shallow lines yesterday, there's slightly wider lines today. You'll see Sacha take the wide line throughout the midpoint and then cut back on the exit. Henrik Clemenseca and Steffi Haum out there as well. There's another truck up the road which I think is Luke Garrett. And the grid is slowly starting to build in numbers. I'm sure Jamie Anderson is there or thereabouts on the grid now. There is the number 1 machine of Jochen Hahn, sideways through Le Mans. I'm sure it will be sideways on the exit of Farina. Indeed it is. It's building some temperature into those tyres. Steffi Haum a bit more sedate, so too is Heinrich Clemenseca. There is Sacha Lenz just working his way through Portago and then heading down towards Bugatti. The Bugatti corner there's a very quick left, and then you've got to be hard on the brakes to get it slowed down for an uphill left-hander as well, an uphill left-hand hairpin. But the left-hand king has caught a couple of drivers out throughout this weekend. We saw Adam Lachko yesterday, probably one of the biggest moments through there, running through the gravel. There is a bit of curb you can use, but if you use too much, obviously the FIA stewards will have their attentions attracted to figure out just where you have been extending those track limits. The rain's still coming down heavier and heavier, visibility falling away through the section of the circuit which has the coolant. You can see Sacha Lenz very sedate through there, no need to go through there any quicker than you genuinely have to. Marshals have escaped to the relative safety behind an umbrella. Just making sure they stay as warm and as dry as possible. And the final few trucks work their way towards the grid. Both the Team Hahn Ivecos work their way. The first one being Jochen Hahn, and it's Steffi Haum just behind, followed by Heinrich Clemenseca. You can see all truck lights have to be on, so not only the rain light but the headlights as well. And there's another truck heading out onto circuit. There he is, it's Renaud Reinhardt in the number 77 Iveco. Renaud's had a really tough weekend throughout this weekend. He's had a little bit of contact in race 1, which led to a bit of damage accruing over the race, and then race 2 yesterday, forced into retirement after a heavy collision with the tyre barrier through Ascari. And you can see it's missing parts of its front bumper today, purely because I don't think they brought enough spare parts with them. It's been a rather violent weekend for Renaud Reinhardt. But still out and heading towards the grid. Rain still falling heavier and heavier. And I'm sure we will end up with an interview on the grid. I feel sorry for Christina today. Yesterday was beautiful weather, and today it's very, very rainy. So I'm sure while you are down on the grid next to these brilliant race trucks, it is tricky to stay motivated. It is very soggy. Make sure you bring your poncho with you. There are the drivers and the truck mechanics all hounding around the Revas Racing number 41 MAN of Norbert Kish on the front row of the grid on pole position. You can see the next row is made up of Adam Lachko and Jochen Hahn. Jochen Hahn, 6-time champion. Then we get back to Sacha Lenz and Steffi Haum. Good qualifying from Steffi. And you can see just in the background Andre Kurz and Matteo Calvé. Final pressure changes being made to these trucks. Of course, the rain falling heavier and heavier, so making these changes could drastically change your race endeavours. Adam Lachko, to which the changes are being made, Adam's always been quick in the wet. We heard from him at Zolder saying he's been quick in the wet since karting. He played true at Le Mans, because of course that was a mixed weather weekend. It seems like the past 3 rounds of the FIA European Truck Racing Championship, it's been sunny on the Saturday and rainy on the Sunday. And now it's all eyes on Adam Lachko just to see what he can do in the race. We know he's quicker in the race than he is in qualifying, and he's quicker in the rain than he is the dry, and he's got a wet race at the moment, so he really has got the best cards in his hand. There is Sasha Lenz. We know Sasha's very good off the start, so keep an eye out for him heading down towards turn 1. And still lots to look forward to indeed, just waiting for the various timing boards to be held aloft. Of course, 10-minute board will be held up first. And just waiting for, I think, final confirmations to say it is safe to go racing. Of course, there will be little bits of paperwork to be completed. You can see Teo Calvet alongside Andre Kersim on the row prior. And then we get back to Elia Koloch, her best qualifying to date. She has Jose Rodriguez for company, back on row 5 of the grid. Andre Kersim with his windscreen wiper already working away. It's mandatory for these trucks to not only be fitted with windscreen wipers, but windscreen washers as well. So, little regulation you don't really think about, but it is mandatory for the trucks to enter the FIA ATRC to have both of those. It's working down the grid. Cameraman getting ever wetter. You can see the waterproof camera cover pouring water away. It's probably not the we can always spy at Andre Kersim's tyre pressure, so we'll be able to see what pressure Andre is running in the rear tyres. It looks very, very low indeed. I'd say around about 25-30 psi in the tail end of that truck. So if you are watching along and you are one of the other teams, maybe alter your pressures to Andre Kersim's, because you'll be able to see whereabouts that will put you in the grid. But as it stands, Norbert Kish on pole position. Antonio Alberthetti just sat alongside. Antonio's been there or thereabouts throughout the weekend. I think the closest we saw him to Norbert Kish's lap time in qualifying was 16 thousandths of a second. So the pace is definitely there. And of course, his idea is the one that allowed us to go racing. So he evidently wants to go racing, as I'm sure do a lot of the other drivers. So Antonio will be really looking forward to this one. If you get a good start and beat Norbert Kish off the line, it's all down to what he can do in towards Fangio at turn 1. So we've just got to sit and wait patiently until we get to go racing. And I'm sure that will come around very, very quickly indeed. Definitely a scary prospect being a truck driver in this weather, I'm sure, especially a racing truck driver indeed, because like I say, they're definitely no slouches, these things. 1200 horsepower, 5,500 newton meters of torque, 10-minute board held aloft now, so 10 minutes until we get to go racing. The Ford F-Max pulls away from the grid. So here, as I was saying, 5,500 newton meters of torque, just over 4,000 pound-foot of torque, and they can accelerate up to 100 miles per hour where they are limited. They'll be able to go much quicker, I'm sure, but for, of course, safety, 160 kilometers an hour or 100 miles an hour is where they are capped, because they weigh a very minimum of 5.3 tons, 3.1 of which have to be over the front axle. And as soon as that turbo kicks in at around about 20 miles an hour, they can go from 20 mph to 100, their top speed, in the same time as a Porsche 911 GT3 RS. So very, very quick piece of machinery. And you've got to remember, these things weigh, like I say, a minimum of 5.3 tons. So the engineering behind it is well and truly second to none. There is the Ford F-Max. Very, very pretty truck indeed. That produces around about 2,500 newton meters of torque, so just less than half of what the race trucks produce. But of course, this is made for hauling cargo as well, so plenty there. We do have an interview with home favourite Antonio Alberthetti. Down to you, Christina.
Yes, and we don't want to keep entering the rain, so very quick. Antonio Alberthetti, you mentioned that it would be a good idea racing under yellow flag. How happy are you with the decision?
Yeah, I think we can start with yellow flags, and then in the place that there is some oil, we can have yellow flags and then we can race. So yeah, we will see. I mean, it's going to be a very difficult race, but I think we have to race for the whole people waiting there. You know, they are waiting the whole morning on the water. So I think we have to take care. We have to be careful, but race for these people.
Race for these people, of course. You've been racing here since 25 years. You've been racing truck racing. Congratulations. You've been racing single-seaters, touring cars, but in rainy conditions. Is that usual?
Yeah, well, sometimes I drive with single-seaters and with touring cars. I mean, it's not usual here in Spain, you know. I think that in the 25 years, I think it's the second or third time, I'm not sure, that it's raining here in JARAMA. So, yeah, I hope that the race is okay, that we do a good race and that the people enjoy it.
Thank you very much. Close the door quickly, please. So that was Antonio Albacete and Tim Frost right now helping us, keeping the rain outside the trucks. But on the track, we, of course, got a little bit of rain. And this might be a bit slippery, but we will see. I'm so happy to have us here back.
Thank you very much, Christina. And yes, a quick word with Antonio, doing what he can to stay as dry as possible in the cockpit of that MAN. So, from what I gather, after hearing from Antonio Albacete, and as we've seen already a couple of times this season, we definitely saw it at Zolder. I think we saw it at Le Mans as well, the first 2 or 3 laps under yellow flag conditions. So, the drivers can bring up the pace a little bit. 5-minute board held aloft. So yes, there will be, of course, the installation lap where the Iveco S-Way will lead the 17 truck strong grid around JARAMA. And the first 2 or 3 laps will be under yellow flag conditions. So you can bring up the speed, allow the temperatures in the tyres and the brakes to build up as well. And then after a few laps, once everything is dried out a little bit, in regards to the circuit and the temperatures have built within the trucks, it is then, of course, that extra little level of safety that has been built up and a bit more confidence for the drivers, and then we should be able to go racing just after that. So it's all down to now just a waiting game until we get to go racing. 3-minute board held high at the end of the grid now. Next one will be the 1-minute board, 30 seconds, and the next thing you know it, we'll be going. Christina, we have an interview.
Yeah, Csaba, very quick. So the decision is made, we are going to race. And how's Norbert Kish feeling with this condition?
Norbert was happy with the conditions. Of course, you have to be extra cautious where we have the oil leak on the circuit. But now the decision is that we will have a yellow flag situation all through the whole race. So it should be safe enough, but we will still have to race. So I think it's a good decision to make.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Christina. A quick word with one of the mechanics of Norbert Kish. And you can see engines being started, 1-minute board held up at the end of the grid. You can see the lights on with Antonio Albacete. So his engine is started, the electrics are all running, and we will be able to go racing. Of course, we've got to bear in mind yesterday, Teo Calvet had an issue with his electrics, and I'm sure, as we all know, water and electrics don't really go well together, so hopefully they have managed to find a way to isolate that issue. They said they never solved it, but I'm sure they've done everything they can to minimise it from happening again. So now we just have to wait for the rest of the mechanics and the circuit staff to vacate the grid, and then we will be able to go green, well, somewhat yellow flag racing here at JARAMA. So you can see a wet race has well and truly been declared. And as soon as the green flag is waved at the end of the grid, we will be able to go on our green flag warming up lap, led by the beautiful Iveco S-Way. So the Iveco S-Way pulls away now. In a few moments' time, Norbert Kish will follow suit with Antonio Albacete alongside. So there goes Norbert Kish. Antonio Albacete following along. Keep an eye on Adam Lachko. We know how quick he is in the wet, and today he might just prove us right. As the rest of the trucks just cross the line, getting ready to get some temperature into every part of the truck that they can. Of course, we must mention as well that the official pace truck, the Iveco S-Way, is leading everybody around. And of course that runs on a bio-LNG, liquefied neutral gas fuel, is the Iveco S-Way. And all of the trucks, all of the racing trucks on the grid run on HVO biofuel as well, which is 100% renewable. So even in all of this wet and the rain, conditions don't affect how economical this championship is becoming. So it is obviously brilliant to see that not only the race trucks themselves, but all of the various other trucks and other support vehicles that follow the FIA ETRC around are as economical as possible as well. All the marshals with their umbrellas being used just on their marshal's post, making sure that they stay as dry and as warm as possible. There comes the field. And the first few laps, I believe, will be under those yellow flag conditions. So it's Norbert Kish, the driver, that will lead the field around, followed by everybody else just working their way through the tail end of the circuit. And we will be able to go somewhat racing, almost half racing, for the first few laps, and then we will be fully racing, fingers crossed. You can see just how wet it is now. Well, the trucks do slowly produce a dry line here at JARAMA. The spray at the back of the grid, I'd imagine, is very difficult to see through. So Heinrich Clemens-Hecker will have a very tough job at the start of the race, just trying to peer through all of the spray and all the rooster tails being produced by the trucks in front, heading up to the zone that has got the slippery surface and the coolant and the oil that has been deposited. I think it's on the entrance to Bugatti all the way up until pit entry, in fact, that there has been some sort of liquid deposited out on the circuit. Anthony Janiek just building up some final temperature in those brakes. You can see there the Iveco S-Way, like he says, powered by that bio-LNG fuel, the liquefied neutral gas fuel. And then through the final corner we go. We will somewhat go racing here at JARAMA. Under yellow flag conditions, of course. There is Heinrich Clemens-Hecker. And then towards the line we go. You can see the red lights on the gantry. They go out now, and we can somewhat go racing here at JARAMA. Norbert Kish leads the field away, and the driver's just building up some temperature while the yellow flags are still out. Adam Lachko desperate to jump out of that spray. It looks like the windscreen wiper on his Bugatti Freightliner has fallen away from its usual position, so I'd imagine it's very difficult to see behind the wheel of Adam's Freightliner. I'm sure that has drawn the attention of the FIA and circuit staff, so you'll have to be careful that that doesn't get spotted and then spoken about, because you can pick up what is commonly referred to as the Meatball Flag, so the black and orange flag, which is for a mechanical issue that either you're not aware of, or it requires you to return to the pit lane because it is somewhat dangerous. For example, bodywork flapping around won't draw too much of an attention, but say if you've got an exhaust hanging off, so you might not be able to see it or hear it, but if it's hanging off and sparking away, that will get you the black and orange warning flag. So standings on the left hand side, just as everybody's working their way around. Of course, there won't be any position changes as of yet, but the drivers are allowed to work up to the racing speed. The dry line already forming. 2 laps under yellow flag, confirmation at the bottom of your screen. And then we will be able to go green flag racing. Norbert Kish already pushing forward, building up a bit of a gap for as much as he can in these conditions. So the yellows will remain out between turn 9 and turn 12 until the end of the race. So the full 12 laps will have yellow flags through the final few corners. There goes Norbert Kish through what will remain a yellow flag zone throughout the whole race. It's Antonio Albuquerque and Adam Lachko still sat there in 3rd place. Just trying to keep touch with the trucks in front without pushing too hard. You don't want to make a mistake. I'm sure Jochen Hahn is running out of patience. You can see he's jumping out of the spray, but I'm sure he's desperate to get going as well. He doesn't want to start the race some 5 seconds behind the leader, because that gives you a lot more time to make up. But we know how quick Norbert Kish is in any conditions, whether it be dry, whether it be wet, whether it be anything in between. Norbert Kish is very quick indeed. Adam Lachko has got a train forming behind him now. I'm sure they're desperate to get back up onto the tails of the leader, because any time saved at the start could massively help your race a little later on. At the end of this lap, we will go green flag racing, apart from the final sector, of course, where that will remain yellow for the whole race because of the coolant and oil deposited. We're just waiting for the trucks to work their way through the first sector, through the middle sector as well. Norbert Kish pulling over to the right-hand side. I'm sure the drivers behind are somewhat getting concerned now, thinking, come on, we're almost 10 seconds behind the leader. We really need to get going. Norbert Kish flying through Ascari. Antonio Alberthetti sticking with him. Then we get back to Adam Lachko, who's usually really quick in the rain, but I think he might be struggling here at Jarama. And it's Jochen Hahn, followed by Sacha Lenz, Steffi Helm and Andre Kurzim. Then we get back to Teo Calvet, Jose Rodriguez and of course Elia Koloc. Towards Bugatti we go. There is the battle for, in theory, third place. I'm sure that will kick off straight away in towards turn 1 as soon as we go green flag racing. I'm sure Jochen Hahn will be desperate to get past Adam Lachko. Up the hill we go towards Monza. So round the final corner goes Norbert Kish and Antonio Alberthetti. I do believe that will be on to their first lap of green flag running. Then we get back to Adam Lachko and Jochen Hahn. So you can see green lights on the gantry. Yellow flags have been withdrawn. And now we are able to go racing for the first time here today. Both trucks topping out, all the trucks topping out at 100 miles an hour, so it's so difficult to get past in a straight, but it's all down to who's going to be braver on the brakes. Adam Lachko, you can see the truck squirming around. Jochen Hahn all over his tail. Sacha Lenz just sat behind. Steffi Helm there as well. Teo Calvet looking to work his way past Andre Kurzim. Then it's Jose Rodriguez and Elia Koloc. Then we get back to Anthony Janiek, Jamie Anderson, Shane Brereton all there as well. You can see confirmation that we are going green flag racing now. Adam Lachko under ever increasing pressure from Jochen Hahn behind. They're basically nose to tail. There's almost contact between the pair of them. You can see in the background Shane Brereton somewhat in a world of his own, because Jamie Anderson has got Stefan Faas all over him now. Jochen Hahn trying to edge his way up the inside, runs out of mid-corner grip, a little bit of contact, and can't quite get that move done as of yet. But they are still nose to tail. Norbert Kish 1.6 seconds ahead of Antonio Alberthetti already, and then it's quite the gap back, almost 7.5 seconds back to Adam Lachko. And then we have Jochen Hahn, Sacha Lenz, Steffi Helm, Andre Kurzim, Teo Calvet, Jose Rodriguez and Elia Koloc. Teo Calvet desperate to get past Andre Kurzim, then nose to tail through the bottom of shot there on the exit of Botago. You can see entering the yellow flag zone now, so no overtaking is permitted, and as we heard before the race, if you do overtake in that yellow flag zone, simply you will just get disqualified, because it is #1 rule really, do not overtake or drive unsafely through a yellow flag zone, and even more so when the yellow flags are there because of a slippery surface. Already started a fairly slippery surface anyway this weekend, as it was rather wet. But Adam Lachko heading through the final corner now. Jochen Hahn sat behind. Then it's still Sacha Lenz and Steffi Helm. Steffi Helm's been quick throughout the whole weekend. Heading down in towards turn 1 in a few moments' time. Adam Lachko still sitting fairly safe in third place, losing about a second a lap to our leader. So really not finding the pace in that Bugatti Freightliner. desperate to get by, still nose to tail. They've pulled away from Sasha Lenz behind. So they've managed to slowly start to bridge that gap. Jochen Hahn looking to the inside once again, almost contact between the pair of them. It seems like Jochen has definitely got the pace, but he just can't find that room to get by. So he's definitely pushing. Antonio Alberthetti has taken time out of our leader. There is Norbert Kish. So Norby still trying to pull away. And I don't think, no, he is not the quickest truck on circuit at the moment. Last time through, both drivers setting 2-minute 12s, but it was a 2-minute 12.086 from Norbert Kish, our race leader. And it was a 2-minute 12.060 from Antonio Alberthetti. So 16 thousandths of a second quicker from Alberthetti, which funnily enough is exactly what he needed in qualifying to go quicker than Kish. Adam Lachko still under pressure from Jochen Hahn. The rain still coming down. We're hearing that René Reiner went off the road at turn 3, has retaken to the circuit, but I'm sure that's lost a little bit of time and a lot of confidence in these wet conditions. René's not had a great weekend, if I'm honest, definitely one to forget for himself. Jochen Hahn all over the tail of Adam Lachko. Sasha Lenz is there as well, trying to work his way into that battle. Steffi Helm just sat behind, still with Andre Kurzim. Andre Kurzim has Teo Calvet all over his tail. Teo's desperate to get past Andre Kurzim. He's just trying to piece the position together. Then we get back to Jose Rodriguez. And Delia Koloc still sat there in 10th place. Then coming under more and more pressure from Anthony Janiak. Jochen Hahn in towards turn 1. Has he got the outside move done? They just jump out of shot now. I think Adam Lachko will remain in that place. Yes, he will. But they were definitely side by side heading in towards turn 1. So Jochen Hahn desperately pushing forward. He's doing everything he can. He just can't find the time and the place to get by. Really, really struggling now. It is the battle for the final step on the podium. Norbert Kish and Alberthetti 8 tenths apart as they cross the line. Another fastest lap of the race from Antonio Alberthetti, a 2-minute 11.832. So that is 3 tenths quicker than Norbert Kish has gone all race. So Antonio Alberthetti's looking good for potentially even a top step of the podium at the moment, let alone second step, and that will make the fans absolutely scream as they drive by. We'll have to try and pick up on that battle. There they are, heading through Port Argo now. You can see a differing line from Jochen Hahn and Adam Lachko. Sasha Lenz is there as well, so it's 3 trucks all battling for 3rd place. Steffi Helm's almost bridging the gap, and then we get back to Andre Kurzim and still Teo Calvet looking to get by. He's giving it a go every time on the exit of the corners. He's just struggling to put that power down. You can see the tail end of that truck squirming away, and he just can't quite piece it together. Still got plenty of racing to go. 4 laps of the race completed. Very shortly will be 5. Andre Kurzim and Teo Calvet still nose to tail. In towards Bugatti we go. Well and truly into the yellow flag zone now, so no overtaking is allowed. You can see the water-cooled brakes steaming away at the front of Andre Kurzim's Iveco. Up towards Monza we go. A slightly shallow double right-hander, and then it tightens up on the exit. Through the final corner we go, and they're still nose to tail, this time by Antonio Alberthetti has lost time to Norbert Kish. So Alberthetti slowly losing time here and there. He's a second slower than his fastest overall lap last time through. So he's dropping out of touching distance. You can see just how bagged that spray is. It's so difficult to see through. Teo Calvet with a big look up the inside of Andre Kurzim. He's got the inside line just about. He edged the door open. He will have the inside for the next right-hander as well at Varzi, but it will evolve to the outside by the time we get to Le Mans. They do bang wheels together once again, and Teo Calvet pulls out of that move. Very sensible driving from the young Frenchman. Just lifts off and allows Andre Kurzim to remain in that position. Of course, still got half the race to go, so he's got plenty of time if he needs it. Adam Lachko and Jochen Hahn still battling away. A big look up the inside from Teo. Got the truck slowed down and he's decided to reevaluate and then push forward once again. Elia Kolok under more and more pressure from Anthony Janiek in her efforts trying to chase down Jose Rodriguez. There is the number 55 of Adam Lachko, still with Jochen Hahn all over his tail for 3rd place. Steffi Helm sitting very comfortably in 6th place. And it's Andre Kurzim still with Teo Calvet all over his tail. Teo desperate to get by. And once again, he's been there or thereabouts throughout the race, and he just can't quite find the room on the track and find the place to do it. Even more so in these conditions, it's going to be so tricky to be able to do it. Entering the yellow flag zone now, so he won't be able to do it here no matter what. He's just sat so close to the tail end of Andre Kurzim. I'm sure he's running out of patience now, just trying to work his way by. And through the penultimate corner we go. That's Adam Lachko and Jochen Hahn still battling away. Sasha Lenz just sat behind. Steffi Helm, like I say, sat very comfortably in 6th place. Andre Kurzim, if he gets let loose by Teo Calvet, he will be chasing down the Iveco driver. Of course, we saw Steffi Helm and Andre Kurzim battling away over the lead yesterday in race 2 of the weekend. But Adam Lachko still has Jochen Hahn behind. Sasha Lenz is there or thereabouts. He just hasn't quite got enough to get there. You can see Teo pulling out of the spray from Andre Kurzim, trying to get a little bit of respite. Has another look to the inside, but this time can't quite edge that door open. Norbert Kish 2 seconds clear of Antonio Albuquerque now, so Norbert Kish well and truly pushing forward. Last time through, fastest lap of the race, a 2 minutes 11.390. So some half a second quicker than Antonio Albuquerque has gone all race. So really pushing forward now. The track is getting drier. I think the rain is slowly subsiding. I'm sure we will hear from Christina at the end of the race, because I think she's out in all that. So poor Christina's stood out there in the rain. However, towards the tail end of the circuit, look at all of that. I think that caught Norbert Kish out there. He got a little bit of mid-corner understeer, struggling to put the power down. That's definitely getting worse through Ascari and Potago. So whereas Sector 1 seems rather dry, out towards Sector 2, it's very wet indeed. And in towards Bugatti, into the yellow flag zones we go. Norbert Kish lost around about 0.2 of a second from that mistake. He's gained 4 back on the brakes through Bugatti. Up the hill towards Monza goes the Hungarian race leader. And he's doing very well indeed, just controlling that MAN through these conditions. Adam Lachko still has Jochen Hahn behind, but Norbert Kish, 6 laps completed, will be heading by across the line to tick his 7th 3.85 kilometre rotation of JARAMA in the books. So crossing the line now, 7 laps of the race completed. We'll get an update on the gap between the pair of them. It was 2.2 seconds last time we looked, 2.4 now. So a couple of tenths here and there, Norbert Kish is gaining. Adam Lachko has still got Jochen Hahn behind him. Sasha Lenz has dropped back a little bit, but not too much. So he's under pressure from Steffi Helm. Steffi Helm has still got Andre Kurzim all over his tail, or all over her tail, pardon me. And then Teo Calvet in 8th place. I think he's taken a step back from that battle, but he hasn't got too much room to play with, because Jose Rodriguez is just sat behind as well. Elia Kolok still sat there in 10th place, but Anthony Janiek having a little look in towards turn 1. I don't think we'll see the change of position, but Janiek desperate to get a top 10 finish. Through Varzy we go. The drive is slowly opening up again. You can see there visibly there's not too much rain falling, but as and when we work our way round towards the 2nd sector here at JARAMA, we will once again see that something is going on in regards to the weather, and we are just getting confirmation. I spotted Adam Lachko's windscreen wiper at the start of the race. It seemed like it had a little bit of damage, or it wasn't working correctly, and I said he's under pressure, I think, from the stewards not to draw too much attention to himself, because he can attract the black and orange flag. And we've just had Barbara, our wonderful assistant here at the European Truck Racing Championship, getting us all the information we need. Just saying that she's also noticed Adam Lachko's windscreen wiper isn't working. Freightliners have 2 wipers compared to a lot of the other trucks that just have the 1. And the one on the driver's side isn't working, so that might explain why he isn't quite at his full potential, even more so in these wet conditions. You can see Teo Calvet all over the tail of Andre Curzim, and then he arrives at the yellow flag zone, so he can't really do much about the overtake. So it's so tricky for Teo at the moment, just desperate to get that position made. A look on the exit, but he won't be able to do anything about it because it's yellow flags all the way until the exit of the final corner. Steffi Helm just up the road, I think he's getting reeled in by that battle, so it will very shortly be 3 trucks all battling over 7th place. Adam Lachko somewhat visually impaired with that windscreen wiper issue. Currently sat there still in 3rd place, but with Jochen Hahn behind. Sasha Lenz isn't too far adrift. Let me get back to the trucks we're looking at the moment. In towards turn 1 we go. It's Norbert Kish, Alberthetti, Lachko, Hahn. Then we get back to Steffi Helm. You can see there now under pressure from Andre Curzim. He's been getting closer and closer and closer. He seems to have forgotten about his rear view mirror because Teo Calvet is definitely still there, but no defensive lines, no nothing like that. He's still pushing forward and taking time out of Steffi Helm. And then in 9th place it's still Jose Rodriguez with Elia Kolot still in 10th. Not too much to shout about at the moment. There's still 2.5 seconds between Kolot and Anthony Janiek. The battle was slowly starting to form, but as of yet it doesn't seem like there's too much going on between the pair of them. So 8 laps of the race completed. Very shortly will be 9 laps. You can see there that it is Lachko still in 3rd place, pulling away from Hahn at the moment. I think Hahn maybe has just taken his foot off the gas and he's thinking, I can't really do that. Teo Calvet all over the grass. Couldn't get the truck turned in for Ascari. So I'm sure that will get him maybe a warning for exceeding track limits. Of course, he didn't gain any time from that. But somebody that is under investigation for overspeeding is the number 17 of Shane Brereton. It'll be such a shame if he does get a penalty for that, as he's such a nice guy. But at the end of the day, the regulations are there for safety. Once again, Teo Calvet all over the grass he goes, bouncing over the curbs, so getting caught out. And it's so easy just to follow that dry line, but as soon as you put a wheel, half a wheel off that dry line and you start driving through what is in theory a puddle, you will just lose all grip, whether it be front or rear, and you can find yourself doing something similar to Teo. But of course that has now opened the floodgates for Andre Curzim, because Andre can just push forward and try and get past Steffi Helm. We saw him working away. It took him over half the race to take the lead away from Steffi Helm yesterday in race 2, and he doesn't even have that at the moment. I think he's only got 3 laps remaining, so he's desperately trying to get by. He doesn't have Teo Calvet, so he will really make the most of it. Steffi in towards turn 1. Still with Andre Curzim just sat behind. Teo Calvet, I'm sure he's kicking himself after that little mistake. Norbert Kish still extending that lead margin, 2.8 seconds clear now. Adam Lachko 15.4 seconds away from Norbert Kish. And there's just over a second between Lachko and Hahn, so I think Hahn is, like I say, just taking a back seat, deciding it's not worth the risk going for that move. He will either let the mistake happen or just take the 4th place. Sasha Lenz still sat there in 5th place. Then we get back to that battle of Steffi Helm and Andre Curzim. Down through the gearbox goes Norbert Kish, struggling to get the front turned in at Botargo. Down the hill in a few moments time, back in towards that yellow flag zone because of the coolant at Bugatti, and then through Monza and Tunel, still under yellow flag conditions. There is Adam Lachko, Jochen Hahn and Sasha Lenz, followed by Steffi Helm, who has had a dream lap so far. She's really opened that gap between herself and Andre Curzim. It could be a mistake from Curzim by the looks of it, because Teo Calvet has reeled him back in. So we'll try and piece together whereabouts that happened. It must have been in Sector 1 or the early stages of Sector 2 somewhere. But after being under investigation, Shane Brereton has received a 10-second time penalty for overspeeding. At the moment, Shane Brereton is down in 13th place and does have, what, 1, 2, 3, almost 4 trucks in the space of that 10-second margin. So Shane will lose a good chunk of positions there, which is definitely a shame. We've had an incident, I think, for Jose Rodriguez. I can't quite figure out where, but he has dropped down from what was 9th place down to 11th. So Jose Rodriguez has had a moment somewhere. I just can't quite pick out where. We'll try and figure that one out, because that has now put Kolok up into 9th place, Janiek up into 10th, and Rodriguez has found himself down in 11th. So whether we have a replay of it somewhere, or we will get a message through from our circuit staff just to figure out whereabouts that happened. But that does now mean Janiek is on for a top 10 finish here at JARAMA. 10 laps of the race completed. Still Norbert Kish leading, 3.4 seconds clear of Antonio Alberthetti now, so Antonio losing more and more time as the race wears on. Adam Lachko still sat there in 3rd place. I think he's decided that Jochen Hahn isn't too much of a threat, as Jochen has just taken his foot off the gas and isn't pushing forward as hard as he really has to. Sasha Lenz in 5th place, followed by Steffi Halm, Andre Kurzim and Theo Calvet still sat there in 8th place. There is Elia Kolok. So heading through the first sector we go, and there is the recovering Jose Rodriguez. So no contact has been made. We're hearing it could be some sort of mechanical issue or an electrical issue or something like that with the truck, so not all is well behind the wheel of the number 14 MAN. Seemed like on the exit of the corner he changed gear, you could hear the turbo flutter, then it took a while for the truck really to spool up and get going once again. You can hear a lock up there from the driver in front of Elia Kolok. So that will be a teammate, Theo Calvet. All over the grass goes Anthony Janiek. A very slidey moment through the first right-hander of Ascari, and then as he went in towards the left-hander, the truck was already sideways, and I think a little bit of aquaplaning was involved, and straight over the grass he went. Great control to keep it pointing the right direction, but that will have lost him chunks of time to Elia Kolok up the road, and then Jose Rodriguez just behind. Off the road there was Shane Brereton. I think half the truck went through a little bit of the gravel, so it's not only the coolant that we've got to worry about, it's generally just the conditions as it stands. As we're seeing ever more mistakes arising. Norbert Kish onto the final lap of the race now. Antonio Alberthetti 3.8 seconds adrift. There is Anthony Janiek after his moment through Ascari. Jose Rodriguez not too far behind, but with only 1 lap of the race remaining. I think he's very quickly running out of time. There is Jamie Anderson, somewhat out of position this weekend in 12th place. That mistake from Brereton had cost him a place as well, because Stefan Fast has managed to work his way up into 13th place. Brereton dropping down to 14th, just as we cut to the camera angle at Portago. We saw Brereton just trudging through the gravel, evidently outbraking himself a little bit. Elia Kolok still doing very, very well behind the wheel of that Bagheera Freightliner. The number 29 in 9th place as it stands, and the final lap of the race well and truly underway. We'll try and figure out where Norbert Kish is. There he is, heading through Ascari in towards Portago. Just very well controlled. You can see a big puddle halfway around the corner, so I'm sure that's catching a couple of drivers out. So easy on the throttle, just making sure the turbo doesn't spool up all at once. And in towards the yellow flag area, in towards Bugatti for the final time in race 3 of the weekend. Nice and easy on the brakes, and making sure no mistakes come in the final couple of corners. Up the hill will go the Hungarian of Norbert Kish. In towards Monza, still with Antonio Alberthetti in tow as well in 2nd place. It's been a good weekend from Antonio. I'm sure the fans will be loving that. In 2nd, he's had 3rd, he's had 2nd. There's only one way he can go from here. Surely got to be 1st. We'll see what he can do in the final race of the weekend, but the 3rd race of the weekend nonetheless. Norbert Kish through the final corner and will come across the line to take his 2nd win of the weekend. Norbert Kish back on form, back on the top step of the podium. And then there goes Antonio Alberthetti. You can hear Norbert Kish over the moon with that one, honking his horn as he crosses the line. And Adam Lachko, I believe, will cross the line in 3rd place. Yes, he will. There is Adam Lachko. Jochen Hahn in 4th, and Sasha Lenz will cross the line in 5th place. So Adam Lachko once again has reeled in Sasha Lenz in regards to the championship. So it's only getting closer as the championship wears on. It will all be decided at round 8. Of course, this being round 7 at JARAMA, the penultimate round, and then the final round, round 8 at Misano, will decide where the championship is truly going, because we can't really decide at the moment. It's just so close between absolutely everybody else on circuit. Sideways through Le Mans is Norbert Kish. very, very handy behind the wheel of these trucks is Norbert Kish. He does know how to drift them around. And you can see they're absolutely loving it. Another good race from Antonio Albacete. Another good race from Steffi Helm as well, crossing the line in 6th place. So yet more points to add to the championship. And there you can see Jamie Anderson, Stefan Fast, Shane Brereton crossing the line with that 10-second penalty, of course, that will have to be applied. Then it's Luke Garrett and René Reynard in 6th place. Heinrich Clemens Hecker finishing in 17th place. I think he might have retired on the final lap, or is still yet to take to the checkered flag, because he's not crossed the line as of yet on my timing screen. There we go, he goes through now, and he does finish the race in 17th place, some 1 minute and 40 seconds behind our leader. So not a great race from Heinrich Clemens Hecker. Tricky conditions nonetheless, so I'm sure it is a massive challenge behind the wheel of these 1200 brake horsepower machines. Stefan Fast enjoying the conditions as well. And then thanking the marshals are, of course, all the drivers. You'll see Norbert Kish very quickly appear from the right-hand side of shot. Of course, your race 3 winner here at JARAMA. Everybody's slowing down nicely, of course, for the yellow flag zone. And then it's Antonio Albacete, congratulating him alongside Adam Lachko. If he had the working windscreen wiper, of course, the passenger side was working, the driver's side wasn't. If the driver's side was working, was there more pace there? For me, absolutely. We know he's quick in these conditions. He just couldn't really see, even more so with the trucks up the road, picking up the spray and leaving it lingering in the air for him to come along and drive through it all. So I'd imagine Adam Lachko had a very tricky race indeed. But there goes Norbert Kish. Antonio Albacete working his way alongside as well. You can hear the fans in the background clapping away. And after it was up in the air for so long whether we were or weren't going racing, when we finally did go racing and it was all declared safe and well, we had a brilliant race. The mid-pack was definitely where it was at. Once again, the battle for 3rd place was definitely hotting up throughout the race. Just Adam Lachko couldn't piece it together, and Jochen Hahn decided maybe it's not worth the risk and pulled away for the final few laps of the race. You can see Sasha Lenz, Steffi Helm, Andre Kozim, Teo Calvé, and a brilliant finish from Ilya Koloch in 9th place. And Anthony Janiak rounds out your top 10. Riding on board with Norbert Kish in towards the top 3 parking area, so he'll pull in towards the right hand side here and park in front of the winner's board for the 2nd time this weekend. Over the moon with that performance, and Revas Racing and MAN, I'm sure, will be absolutely delighted to share that victory with him. In comes Antonio Albacete in the background, and then Adam Lachko will be the next driver to take towards what is in theory victory lane. There is the 3rd place board. There is Adam Lachko, and you can see there the wiper is definitely not working. I think the mechanic just walking over, putting it back on the windscreen, so it looks like just the windscreen wiper motor is not working at all, and it's not remaining in the position it needs to. But there is Norbert Kish over the moon with that extra win, so yet more points to add to his championship lead. And it's been the motto all weekend, nobody can do anything about him. He's just so quick throughout the season in whatever conditions he drives. And you can see just how many circuit officials, team officials and general fans have come over to celebrate with our drivers. But Norbert Kish, he's just so quick and nobody can do anything about him. It's going to take a lot of effort at Misano from anybody else to go through and take the win of the championship. It will take a lot to go wrong in the Revas Racing paddock, I believe. He's getting dangerously close to gaining that championship win earlier and earlier. There is Antonio Albacete clambering out the cockpit of his MAN. Very well done from Antonio, home favourite of course, fellow Spaniard. And going over and celebrating with his team. Like I say, he's had a third, he's had a second. There's only one way he's going from here. And of course he will start in front of Norbert Kish for race 4, where the top 8 are reversed, of course. Adam Lachko, I'm sure he felt he had more pace throughout that race, he just couldn't quite piece it together. You can see the Spanish Truck Racing Championship getting ready to take to the circuit. They will be heading out for what will be their 3rd race of the weekend. But Norbert Kish just cooling himself down after, I'm sure, was what was a very physical race indeed. A lot of oversteer throughout the race, so full concentration as well. But he still managed to cross the line in that first place, and for the second time here at JARAMA in Spain. The cloud is starting to clear. The mountains in the background are showing signs of the sun. So potentially we did say it would be around about 3 o'clock local time, but the rain carried on a little longer. So closing upon 4 o'clock local time, the sun is slowly starting to burn through those clouds. The rain has dissipated as we expected, saying it was going to get worse before it got better. It got very bad throughout the mid part of the race. It looks like it's pretty much all but disappeared at the moment, so I'm sure in a few moments' time we will end up with confirmation of results and of course the podium celebrations as well. And we do have an interview down with our race 3 winner, Norbert Kish. Down to you, Christina.
Yes, the race 3 winner, Norbert Kish, congratulations, under the yellow flag. Describe us, how was it driving through the circuit under this condition?
I think it wasn't too bad, so I was happy that we finally made a decision that we start the race somehow. But I understand, because safety is a big concern, especially with the trucks, so if there's really any danger, I understand completely. But we go out, look at the circuit, I think it wasn't too bad. So probably the right decision was made that in those couple of turns where there was the big oil yellow flags, and then the rest of the place we can race. The start was a usual wet race start that we usually have when it's really raining, and it was almost drying up. And when we go out to the grid, it started to rain like very heavy again. So it was difficult, but I'm happy for the win. Antonio was fast in the first couple of laps. He was really close, and I was really sweating, so that I could push a little bit harder and go a little bit faster. But yeah, in the second half again, I could pull away and be faster. So yeah, happy for the team. Good job, like always, good track, good setup, So yeah, really happy for the win.
As you told me, because you had the experience as well, as you were racing on your home court, it was Antonio Albertetti's right now. And did you understand that he was speaking forward for the drivers who wanted to drive, of course, giving the spectators the chance to see everything. So you were clear with that. But how was it to feel someone knowing, as you said, was this little extra thrill in the competition between you two?
Yeah, it's good, and here is the atmosphere just as good as in the Hungarian, and we are like always, we want to race, no matter how difficult the circumstances are, we want to be out there and try to make the most of it. Yeah, sometimes we fail, like for example last year in most I spun, or go off the track, or sometimes mistakes happen, but yeah, for sure we need to go and we need to race, and try to be careful at the same time, which is difficult.
And be careful now, the stairs are slippery as well, up to the podium. And we hope there won't be any mistakes, but I'm sure there will be not any mistakes. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Christina. So race 3 of the weekend has just completed, and this is how they finish. Norbert Kish once again on the top step of the podium, 4.3 seconds clear of home favourite Antonio Albertetti, followed by Adam Lachko in 3rd place, fending off the attentions of Jochen Hahn. Sasha Lenz 5th, with Steffi Harm sat there in 6th place, another good result for herself. Then it's Andre Kurzim, Teo Calvé, Elia Koloc in 9th place, then followed by Anthony Janiek, rounding out your top 10. Then we go back to Jose Rodriguez and Jamie Anderson, then followed by Stefan Faas, Luke Garrett, René Reynert after the slight off midway through the race, Shane Brereton carrying that 10-second penalty. Then it's Heinrich Klementacker in 17th place, somewhat off the pace once again here this weekend, struggling to fit the mould here at JARAMA. but the crowds are still here. The umbrellas have slowly started to go away, so that's a great indication as to where the weather's going. You can see the sun slowly coming out, and now it's time for the chrome podium for the Goodyear Cup. So there is Adam Lachko. Sorry, pardon me. This is the overall podium, the Titan podium. So Adam Lachko takes third place. Then it is Antonio Albacete finishing in second place. And then it's Norbert Gisch taking to the podium once again this weekend, back onto the top step. It's very well done to Norby. And that's another overall win here at JARAMA. And now it's time for the national anthem of the winning driver. Maybe not. So I was expecting national anthem first, but we've got national anthem and trophy at the same time. So I think today is just a little bit upside down. But now it's time for the Hungarian national anthem. So the national anthem completed, trophies already in hand. We will bear that in mind for the Goodyear Cup podium. And now it's time for the Goodyear caps to be worn. And of course, the photos to be taken, everybody squeezing onto the top step of the podium. Adam Lachko just about fitting up there with, of course, Albacete and Norbert Gisch. Now it's time for caps to be traded. Norbert Gisch doesn't have his sponsor cap, and of course, with motorsport being so reliant on these sponsors, he gets the required cap, gets back onto the top step, and then he can once again pose for the media. So trophies held aloft, and now it's time for the champagne on the podium. Keep an eye out on Adam Lachko. I think he's got a rather unique podium celebration. We'll see that in a few moments' time, I believe. So just as trucks are working their way by and the champagne celebrations begin, everybody works their way onto the podium, and here we go. Does Adam Lachko do his very unique podium celebration? Yes, he does indeed. So we saw it at Zolder, and once again here at JARAMA. Once again. But Adam Lachko finishing in third, Antonio Albacete in second, and once again Norbert Gisch on the top step of the podium. So as the national anthem is very quickly changed, and I'm sure more trophies applied to the podium, I think we will end up with the Chrome class podium, all for the Goodyear Cup, of course. As the circuit officials and drivers are getting ready from the Spanish Truck Racing Championship to take to the circuit, of course, they will be more than happy that the track has now dried out. Green flag waves at the end of the pit lane, and they will head out onto their warming up lap round to the grid. And then we will very shortly, fingers crossed, get the Goodyear Cup podium underway. So there are some of the competitors in the Spanish Truck Racing Championship working their way round to the grid. And now the podium has been readied for the Goodyear Cup. And in a few moments' time, we will see Jose Rodriguez take to the podium. So just waiting for the final changes to be completed. And indeed it is. You can hear the very enthusiastic Spanish announcer there. Jose Rodriguez takes to the podium, finishing in third place in the Goodyear Cup. Then it's once again Elia Koloc with another good performance, great in qualifying, even better in the race, finishing second in the Goodyear Cup. And once again this season, Teo Calvet takes to the top step of the podium for the Goodyear Cup. Very, very successful in the Goodyear Cup throughout the season as Teo, and he continues to work his way forward in the championship. And while trophies are held high, it will be time for the national anthem of the winning driver. for the French national anthem played for, of course, Théo Calvet. Goodyear caps will be worn, and then it will be time for the media opportunities. So the final photo is taken. I'm sure champagne will be sprayed in a few moments' time. Once again, a few more photos being taken. Théo Calvet stood proud on the top step of the podium, and then of course it is time for champagne, all three drivers' favourite part of the podium. So Jose Rodriguez on the podium once again this weekend. In a few moments' time the corks will be popped, sat waiting patiently for the celebrations. And you can see all of the crowd sat in front of the podium, looking forward to the celebrations here at JARAMA. Very well done to Jose Rodriguez coming into this round. Not too familiar with the championship, but that's another podium for himself. And in a few moments' time, we will end up with the highlights from race 3 of the weekend, race 19 of the season. So with the delayed start, of course, as we had some foreign liquid posted down from the Spanish Truck Racing Championship, the FIA called the drivers to a meeting, sent them out on 3 installation laps, and decided after a little bit of discussion it was safe to go racing the first 3 laps as it was under wet conditions under yellow flag as well. So it was Norbert Kish that was leading the field away, still under yellow flag conditions as you can see, but just after 3 laps we were able to go green flag racing. So it was Norbert Kish and Antonio Albertetti up at the head of affairs. However, it was all eyes on Lachko and Hahn. They were side by side for quite a substantial amount of the race. Still pushing forward as the race wore on, and Lachko was just driving such a defensive drive from Jochen Hahn. Jochen eventually just giving in and deciding it's not really worth the risk, not even in these conditions. This is about as close as he got, side by side in towards turn 1. Sascha Lenz was just sat behind and didn't really have anything to throw at that battle. Théo Calvet really pushing forward as well, trying to get his way past Andre Kurzim, and after a mistake from both drivers it left them once again in the same position, 7th and 8th respectively. But Norbert Kish was still up at the head of affairs, slowly extending that margin over home favourite Antonio Albertetti. And as the conditions got worse once again, you can see just how close it was getting in that mid-pack. Steffi Haum under a little bit of pressure from Andre Kurzim. The mistake in the background from Théo Calvet cost him time from Andre Kurzim. And then we saw an even bigger moment for Anthony Janiek all over the grass. And that is just what happens with these conditions. Norbert Kish working his way up through Monza and then across the line to take his 2nd win of the weekend. Antonio Albertetti crossing the line to finish in 2nd, with Adam Lachko in 3rd, followed by Jochen Hahn and Sascha Lenz, and some brilliant celebrations from Norbert Kish showing off to the Spanish fans. So it was Norbert Kish on the top step of the podium once again, and the 3rd race here at JARAMA completed in classic style.
And we saw the winners of the Chrome category on the podium, and now they're here because they're from one team. Please step a little bit closer to us. It's Alia College and Théo Calvet, the winner and 2nd place. Alia, let's start with you first. I saw Adam Lachko. He tried to teach you how to spray the champagne. You did quite well, I would think. What would you say?
Yeah, my first champagne spray. Not too bad, but I'm happy with 2nd place and top 10 finish, P9, and I'm very happy with today's race and looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, of course. Théo, congratulations. You had some problems yesterday and we talked about it. This is quite a crazy day though. You had to wait long and then we had the decision to race under yellow flag. How were the conditions for you?
Yeah, honestly, the conditions were okay. It was like rain conditions, so it was good. We thought that it will be very slippery because of the oil on the track, but no, finally it was okay. I made a good race. I secured the 8th position, so that's good. And P1 in Goodyear Cup, I take a few points back to Shane, but yeah, I'm happy.
Because in Le Mans you were not competing for the ETRC championship, you were of course, the new French champion, and now you're trying to get back some points, Elia. For you, it's really a spectacular weekend right now. How were the conditions for you? Because under the yellow flag, you knew maybe there you had some seconds to adjust yourself because there was no overtaking in this situation. How were your tactics in this race?
Well, my main tactic was to keep Anthony behind me. So in the end, he made a mistake, and then I managed to get more in front. So it was not too bad, and a little slippery, but it was manageable.
Tia, what do you say about celebrating with a teammate then on the podium?
Yeah, it's really nice to have her in the podium. I think it's good for her. She learned a lot, and even under the rain, because she has no experience under the rain, a little bit like me. I have a little bit more than you, but yeah, it's totally new for you. So I think it's good.
It's good.
Thank you very much. So you can celebrate with the team right now. Don't forget that Adam Lerchko taking second place. So you need a space for trophies right now. Thank you very much and have a goodbye. So, dear ladies and gentlemen, it was a tough weekend until right now. It's Sunday. You know, the conditions are really different. Let's have a little walk. Come on, come on. I will show you right now because the sun is shining. Isn't that crazy here at JARAMA? And it's in this crazy old-fashioned circuit. But we love to see all the contestants race on there. So we hope to see you back ahead of race 4 in this weekend. Still more to come. And I'll have a look around. Everyone is in a good mood. And so I think we will see us. Don't you think so? Bye-bye.